Time for the weekly news report. Today's celebrity news starts right now. Welcome to today's celebrity news. There's a lot to go over, so let's get started. After 4 weeks of arguments, witness testimony, and cross-examinations, the trial of Darrell Brooks has finally come to an end. Darrell Brooks, 40, of Wisconsin, has been found guilty of 76 charges stemming from an event occurring on November 21st of 2021. 2 weeks prior to the Christmas parade incident, Darrell Brooks was released on a $1,000 bond after his arrest on domestic abuse charges, where he was accused of hitting his ex-girlfriend with his car. Last November, Darrell Brooks drove his mom's red SUV through a Christmas parade in Waukegan, Wisconsin. The incident resulted in the death of 6 parade goers, including an 8-year-old boy, and injured 61 others. In total, Darrell Brooks was found guilty on 76 charges, which break down as follows: 6 counts of first-degree intentional homicide, 61 counts of recklessly endangering safety with the use of a dangerous weapon, 6 counts fatal hit and run, 2 counts of felony bail jumping, and 1 count of misdemeanor domestic battery. The verdict came in on Wednesday, October 26th. The jury deliberated for 2 hours on Tuesday, returned early Wednesday morning, met for a brief amount of time before they came to a decision. Cameras were actually allowed during this trial, and you can find video footage of the entire trial on the YouTube channel Law and Crime, as well as clips of the trial on TikTok and Instagram. On the day of the Christmas parade, November 21st, it was reported that Darrell and his ex-girlfriend got into an altercation where he assaulted her and then fled the scene in his mom's red SUV. During the trial, there were witnesses that testified to being present at the time Darrell Brooks abused his ex-girlfriend. After the verdict, the victims' families made a statement. They thanked the jurors for finding Darrell Brooks guilty. He now faces multiple life sentences for his crimes. Initially, when Darrell Brooks was first arrested, he pled not guilty by reason of insanity. In September of this year, his public defender removed the reason of insanity from his plea. Shortly after, Darrell Brooks waived his right to counsel and insisted on representing himself during the trial. If you go back and watch the footage, you'll see that Darrell Brooks was combative, defiant, disrespectful to the prosecution, the judge, the jurors, and the witnesses. Darrell Brooks also claimed to be a sovereign citizen and refused to be called by the name Darrell Brooks throughout the trial. I will link that YouTube channel in the description below so that you all can watch the videos and judge for yourself. Our next story hits close to home. There was a school shooting in St. Louis, Missouri this past week. On Monday, October 24th, a shooting took place at Central Visual Performing Arts High School in St. Louis, Missouri. The police were alerted around 9 a.m. that a gunman had entered the premises with an assault rifle and over 600 rounds. There were reports that the gunman could be heard saying, "You're all going to blanking die today." This incident unfortunately resulted in casualties. A 16-year-old student and a faculty member were both killed by the gunman. The gunman was later killed by police, although there were reports that the gunman took his own life. The gunman has now been identified as 19-year-old Orlando Harris, who was a former student of Central Visual Performing Arts High School. It was reported that Harris graduated from the high school in 2021 and was a member of the theater department. There's speculation that Harris was upset because he couldn't find a girlfriend and that he felt slighted by his former classmates. At this time, I'm going to show you a picture of the weapon that was used as well as the rounds. This can be very triggering to someone who has PTSD or past traumas with school shootings, weapons, and assault rifles. So if that is you, please turn away from the screen at this time or click off the video. As you can see, the weapon used was a rifle, and below, these are the rounds that were recovered from the scene, totaling over 600. Because I do live in the St. Louis area, my social media has been flooded with posts from parents of students in the school or at the school, also students themselves. One student posted a text conversation with a friend of theirs detailing the incident that occurred on Monday. And in the text messages, the young lady revealed that the shooter, Orlando Harris, not only attended the school but was in the theater department. and used his knowledge of the theater department's access doors to enter the school. I want to take this minute to point out the security that was in place at the school. They did have alarm doors, they did have multiple guards, and they did have a procedure in place in the event of a school shooting. The reason why this shooter was able to access the school without alerting the guards or administration is because he knew where a door was in the theater that wasn't alarmed, that wouldn't alarm the front office as the other doors would. So essentially, this person had insider information. Also in these text messages, the student mentioned that there was an accomplice that has yet to be named. The text messages show that this person believed that the assailant or the accomplice was in custody and his identity is being kept private. There were multiple injuries throughout this incident, and one young man actually shielded his fellow classmates from being shot. He in turn was shot in both of his hands and his neck. His mother has started a GoFundMe for him. She stated that although she does have medical insurance, the out-of-pocket costs are very expensive and she would like help with that. I'm going to link that GoFundMe link in the description below. She's also asking for things that can help her son throughout his recovery because he was shot in both of his hands. He needs pillows to help his arms be elevated. She's asking for things like sweatpants and hoodies, things that are easy for him to put on, such as slip-on shoes, slides, things of that nature, and things that can keep him entertained like video games. There's also a GoFundMe for the 16-year-old who was killed, Alexandria Bell. Alexandria was a sophomore at Central Visual and was looking forward to a lifetime of performing. I will also link her GoFundMe in the description below. And finally, Jean Kushka was the faculty member that was killed. She stood in between her students and the assailant, shielding them from gunfire, sacrificing her own life. I also want to take a minute to acknowledge the St. Louis Police Department. They were on the scene less than 5 minutes of receiving the call that an active shooter was at Central Visual. Please keep the students, faculty, and family members in your thoughts and prayers. Our last story for today is an update in the Tim Norman murder for hire trial. The insurance agent in the case, Waiel Yaghnam, who pled guilty back in July of this year, has had his sentencing postponed to Tuesday, November 1st. I'll have the details of his sentencing for you next week. That's all for today. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share it with your friends. For today's celebrity news, I'm JSO Extra. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and until next time, stay safe.